in San Francisco, Rath Yatra in the early days. One Rath Yatra that I was at, and I was helping to cook for that Rath Yatra with Gauri Prabhu. And so after the Rath Yatra, we went to the Family Dog Auditorium where the activities were being held simultaneously there and on the beach. And that was very wonderful. There's a very famous quote of Srila Prabhupada, and I was fortunate enough to be there for that. There were literally hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands. It was a big auditorium, you know, hippies that were in the auditorium. Vishnujan Maharaj was leading the kirtan. Just, you know, chant, chant, and when you're tired, take prasadam and chant more and more and more. Intense chanting, and everyone was like dressed in their full regalia. I mean, it was an incredible scene. Everybody was like fully dressed in all kinds of different hippie things and dressed like Krishna and all kinds of things. And in the middle of all this, Srila Prabhupada came walking through the whole crowd, you know, just like a swan, you know, untouched by the material energy and anything that's going around him. And Prabhupada walked through, and he went up to the stage, and he spoke, and he declared, "I have come to make the hippies happies." And it was just the perfect thing to say. Only Srila Prabhupada could say something so profound, you know. And so that was very wonderful.
Another time I came to fix Prabhupada's equipment, and when it was fixed, somebody put on a record of Ravi Shankar. And when the music came on, then Prabhupada started to smile. So somebody said, "Do you like this music, Swamiji?" And he said, "That is sense gratification music." And Hayagriva said, "Well, that's a raga. They play it in temples." Prabhupada said, "That is sense gratification music." And he said, but it's Ravi Shankar. It's a raga. They play it in temples." And Prabhupada said, "No, it is sense gratification." And Hayagriva kept insisting, "No, it's a raga, you know." And then Prabhupada said, "Ravi Shankar is a businessman." And then somebody said, "Well, what if he wants to be a devotee?" Prabhupada said, "Oh, fine, let him come." And then somebody else said, "But Swami, you were once a businessman." And Prabhupada said, "Because I went naked then, I should go naked now." And Hayagriva in the meantime was all fuming, and you know, then he was, you know, kept arguing, "But it's a raga." Prabhupada started laughing. Prabhupada and I were laughing at him.
The problem was I was having trouble with an abusive marriage partner, and it was like very severe, and I wanted to commit suicide. And I told Srila Prabhupada that. I said, "Srila Prabhupada, I can't be Krishna conscious. I feel like I'm going to commit suicide." I just kind of laid it out. I just kind of blurted it out. I didn't know what else to do, so I just, well, I bothered him, I better tell him, well, you know, why I bothered him. Just kind of blurted it out, and then, you know. Srila Prabhupada said, you know, he paused, he was very thoughtful, you know, took me very seriously. Wasn't sentimental, like I said, he was detached. You know, oh, you poor little thing, kind of thing, you know. He looked me right in the eye, and I was asking if I could live separately from my husband. I wasn't asking for a divorce or that I wanted to marry someone else, or, you know, I just needed to be free of the stress of that situation so I could remain in the movement and continue. And he said, he was kind of looking off, not quite looking, he was very thoughtful, and then he looked at me, like, oh, his eyes opened wide, and he looked me right in the eye, and he said, "There will not be other men?" Oh no, Srila Prabhupada. I mean, that was the last thing on my mind at the time. You know, I was really at the stage where the thought of man-female relationships did make me spit. You know, I mean, I was like that, but it was mundane. You know, it was forced by a mundane. It wasn't like any kind of great spiritual realization. It was just so unbearably miserable. And he said, "There will not be other men." Oh no, Srila Prabhupada. He said, you will stay in our temple?" Yes, Srila Prabhupada. So those two things. It's not like he was going to sanction some divorce and remarriage. He wasn't going to go that far, you know. But he said, "All right, you may stay here in the Sispalika," you know. And that was kind of it, you know.
And then when I went to see Prabhupada in Los Angeles with my then wife, and we were talking, at one point my wife said, "Prabhupada, I really like to read your books." And Prabhupada said, "You have a very nice wife." He said, "You should take care of her."
At another Rath Yatra, you know, maybe it was 1971, I was manning a cart, a book cart, because at the time I was a book distributor, and we had a couple of carts, and we were selling books, and I just remember, you know, at one point asking someone just to man it for a minute, and I ran up to go see Srila Prabhupada on the cart before it took off, and you could feel Srila Prabhupada looked at me, you know, and everybody was probably feeling the same thing. But, you know, I know Srila Prabhupada looked at me and he gave me some acknowledgement and he smiled, and it made me feel so wonderful. And then after, I remember going to where he was staying in the apartment, and Srila Prabhupada was getting a massage, and we came in and we gave Srila Prabhupada the reports on how many books were sold, and we came in with these big bags of Lakshmi collected, and Srila Prabhupada was, oh, very, very nice, thank you so much. So, you know, Srila Prabhupada had nothing to thank us for. We had everything to thank Srila Prabhupada for, but he was always thanking us. It's like I was mentioning that Arti, he was saying, you know, I have no service to offer, so I just thank you for allowing me to serve my Guru Maharaj, like that.
This was just before I left with a Canadian devotee, Hanuman, just before we left to go to Paris and open the temple. And we went on a morning walk with Prabhupada. And at one point, Prabhupada said that we were talking about love, how love requires free will. He said, just like if you want somebody to love you, they must do it by their free will. He said, you cannot force somebody. You can't. And he said, and he grabbed me by the shoulders, and he said, you cannot say, you must love me, you must love me, you must love me. And he was shaking me like that, you know. And Prabhupada was very strong, very, very powerful.
Prabhupada did two public programs, as far as I remember. And on one program, my father confronted him. He was angry at Prabhupada for having stolen his sons. He said, I cannot believe that it is responsible to bring a foreign culture into, that is the Indian culture, into Germany. It will not survive. The people who are now with you will not be able to stay. It's almost like taking a crocodile from Egypt and transplanting it in the cold River Rhine. How will the crocodile survive there? It's irresponsible. Prabhupada took up the challenge. He looked at my father. He must have understood it's the father of one of his disciples. And he said, you can become Krishna conscious in suit and tie. My father understood. He understood Krishna consciousness is not a matter of culture. The dress may change according to culture. But no, you didn't have to dress in an Indian way. You didn't have to accept the externals to become Krishna conscious. And to this day, he remembers this. At the first moment, he was thinking, this is too simple of an answer for my very intellectual challenge. But the words of the pure devotee do not necessarily act on the intellectual or mental platform on which the question was posed. They have a Shakti, a transformative Shakti, which works much deeper. And my father thought, what a pleasant encounter. The Germans are used to tough discussions, and he was very much, yes, he thought, my son is in good hands. This is a very sensible personality. And I was very, very grateful to Srila Prabhupada for having solved a difficult family issue.
They went in to meet Srila Prabhupada. My mother took a picture. I have a photograph of my father sitting, Srila Prabhupada sitting on the floor behind his desk, and my dad sitting cross-legged in front of, and they're both looking at the camera, and they're both smiling. so effulgently, the same smile. And I call that picture my two fathers. It's like my father, my material father is reflecting the effulgent smile of my spiritual father. And so my parents thanked Srila Prabhupada for saving their daughter from drugs and degraded hippie life. And Srila Prabhupada smiled and said, "Yes, many parents thank me." And then he said, they told him they were concerned about their daughter because I was in India and it was hard to have communication. They didn't know what was happening. They were concerned about me. And Srila Prabhupada said, "Yes, I'm also concerned about my children." So, he chatted with my parents on that level of parents. He knew how to relate to everybody. And then he gave my parents some prasadam from his plate. He was just, showered them with mercy also.